Okay, I don't. It was talking about there. It says the origin of the Trinity is lunar, the 3 in 1 in nature. The moon was one as the moon was one as the moon, which was twofold as. No, this isn't it. I don't know why I had that page down there because it's not what I was looking to read. But anyway, let me see. See if I have some more here to read then, in this serious mystery here. Let's see. 5 to 89, yeah. Okay. Some more on Jason here. Yeah, Jason and the Argonauts. The hero, Jason, wishes to search for the golden fleece, which is known to be a solar symbol. The hero, his teeth are the teeth of a dragon, and in the Jason story, the hero sews the dragon's teeth. It talks about, it says here, Jason and the golden fleece. The golden fleece was given to Helena by the god Hermes. The Egyptian god Anubis became known to the Greeks as their son Hermes. And then it explains that the golden fleece origin by saying that Helena, who flew away on the golden ram's back to Caucasus, began falling on the way and giving the body of water its name. Okay, yeah, I need to read that. It says that the ram's head was on the prow. Rather than having ridden the magical realm of the story, the fact that the more widespread myth, which had an actual realm in the story, maintained specifically that they flew on the golden realm, could refer to the idea of the celestial boat, and thus everyone is correct. In any case, this boat would definitely have been a boat of Egypt. It is worth mentioning also that the 50 Argonauts were also called the Myrah, and they were all related to each other and of the same family, descended all of them from the Minions, which had been the king of the Minion. And it says Jason and Argonauts, 50 in number, all shared a kind of shadowy anonymity, somewhat reminiscent of the 50 Anunnaki of summer, as they were often referred to simply as the Maya, a group of 50 related oarsmen in a celestial boat. So it all leads us back to the boat, the celestial ship, the Noah's Ark. You know, it's all about stepping up to that Aries warrior ship, claiming your right, you see, to actually be a part of that 50 that gets in that boat and makes that crossover. And, you know, this is why we always hear about the small remnant, you know, the 144,000, you know, the side of the mustard seed, because it's only going to be, and symbolically here, they're only using the number 50, you see. So we don't know what that can mean overall, but we know that it symbolizes a small number, you see, that will actually have access to making this celestial ship and making this crossover, you see, into this new paradigm. As we can see, you know, the number of people that are really responding to what they need to be doing for this Aries energy and stepping up to making their claim. And if you'll notice, Aries and Libra, you know, are opposites, you see. So if we're talking about the spiritual warrior here, and that's when we look at the heroes, then we're looking at the Christ energy here, okay? And when we're looking at this energy, we're looking at what we call the Anubis energy, okay? Which represents the Christ energy, which in mythology, these were two brothers, you see, Horus and Anubis, you see. Now, we go way back to the Great Mother and the 4 children that she had. You know, that's symbolic of the blackness of the universe. And we go back to her 4 children, which actually represents the 4 elements: the water, the earth, the air, and the fire, okay? Now, what happened is that it's like her 4 children, which we name as Isis and Osiris, Set, and Nephthys. How many of you have heard of Nephthys? None of you, right? Because she's the dark sister. She's the hidden power, okay? She's the counterpart of Isis. But Isis is so bright that she outshines and nobody knows, okay? Now, these 4 children, Set paired up with Nephthys, and they created like the kingdom of the dark. And Osiris teamed up with Isis, and they created what we call the kingdom of the light. You see, this is earth and water, fire and air, you see. But what happened, now if you look at here, this is earth, you know, this is air, this is water. Here's water over here. Water and fire are right next to each other, okay? So, symbolically, that means that water and fire had a relationship, okay? They had an affair, okay? Osiris had an affair with Nephthys, okay? And they had a baby, and the baby was Anubis, okay? Then Osiris and Isis had a child, and that child was Horus, you see. So we're looking at Horus and we're looking at Anubis here, in opposition to one another, okay? Because Horus, you know, it's like Anubis is, you know, like this is just showing here the opposition with these two. Horus feels like, okay, this should be my right to inherit this kingdom because, you know, I'm the full-blooded child, Osiris and Isis, the kingdom of the light, you understand? After this affair happened, Set, we all heard, cut Osiris up into 14 pieces, okay? And then he decides, well, I think I'll have my own child, you know, since my lady had her child with somebody else. So he goes off to create the earth, okay, the daughter earth, you see. But he gets, now remember symbolically, don't look too confused here, symbolically, okay? We're just trying to demonstrate what these energies are demonstrating here. So, anyway, so he goes off to create this earth, his daughter, but because he had cut Osiris up into 50 pieces, he was put into exile, you know. His judgment was to be put into exile, okay? Now, Nephthys, you know, wanting to do repentance, okay, and knowing that this daughter is going to have the mother also, you know, infuses her. She falls. This is how she falls and infuses herself into the earth to give the earth a chance, you see, to grow, you know. Without the father, without the mother, you see, that means Anubis has to go over to the kingdom of the light and deal, okay? And so now it's time for him to take his kingship. He has to take a bride, take his kingship, you see, so he can, you know, inherit the kingdom. And Horus is not feeling all that good about that. So that's why we have these two energies in opposition, you see. And it's all about reconciling, you see. And that's what's going to bring it into its fulfillment, because we're looking at the battle, you know, between Set and Osiris. We're looking at the battle between Horus and the Christ energy, or the Anubis energy. You know, the division between the dark and the kingdom of the dark, the kingdom of the light. And remember, we don't operate in our power unless we're together in fullness, you see. So that's what's supposed to be trying to open up now, you see. And as we step up and make our claim to fight that in harmony and in balance, you know, with our spiritual power, this is our personal power in combination with our spiritual power, you see, that brings us to our full, here we become a warrior for justice, or a warrior for peace, you see. And that's what we need to do in order to balance and harmonize and bring this into the fulfillment. We have to reconcile those battles or those splits, you see, that have occurred, you see. Now we want to bring the kingdom of the light in harmony with the kingdom of the dark or the hidden power, which is the Christ energy within us, you see, hidden, you know. That's what's in us and hidden that we now have to come in harmony with on an individual basis. And as we become in harmony with our own spirits individually, you see, that's what empowers us to step up, you know, and be a warrior and be able to bring about this fulfillment, you know. And as we do that on an individual level, and we do that as a collective, you see, that is representing the overall fulfillment, you see, that we're looking at having to acclimate ourselves in the next 10 years, you see. So that's what it's all about. Symbolically, it's all about bringing those two opposites together in harmony and in balance, which will represent a fulfillment overall. And not only does it represent a fulfillment for the earth, but it also balances out the universe, you see. So this is a universal thing that is going on here, you see. The problem is that we're too busy looking outside of ourselves, you see, that we're not, we're looking outside of ourselves for God to come and help us when we're not acting as the gods that we are, you see. We've been distracted from that, you see, because that is the hidden power. And when we bring that hidden power together, you know, with the power that is seen, you know, that is visible, you see, then, only then can we fulfill the prophecy, you see, and empower ourselves from the universe. Because once we do that, it's like bringing these two halves together, you see. And the only way that we can reverse and make the transformation, which is that Scorpio crossover, you see, is to, you know, to make that transformation, which means to kill off the old habits and then open up and liberate ourselves for the full empowerment, you know, in order to be able to be armed to fight this battle and come to our fullness, you see. And once we come to our fullness, then we reverse our rotation. That's when we make the transformation, and that's when we get in harmony with the universal forces, and that's how we empower ourselves. We pull in that energy from the universe, you see. So that is what this is all about, you know, getting in harmony with the both halves, bringing that kingdom of the light with the kingdom of the dark, you know, the masculine with the feminine, the negative with the positive, the physical with the spiritual, reconciling all opposites. See, that's the fulfillment. And only we have the capacity to do that. Just like I mentioned before, who was that only one that could pull the sword out of the stone? Was it Sir Lancelot, or I forget which one it was that could only pull the stone out? But only through the divine power and the divine right are you able to conquer and overcome, you know, the obstacles that are put in before us in order to empower ourselves, you see, and tap into the fullness of that energy, see. So that's the reason why we got them represented as oppositions, you see. So the reason why it has to be Anubis, which Horus doesn't understand, is because Anubis has both in him, the light and the dark. You see, it's his spiritual lineage that gains him that. So, you know, everything has to be balanced out, see. So if he is of the light and the dark, he is the one in the position, you know, to combine that, because his mother is of the dark, or the hidden kingdom, the unseen power, you know, but his father is of the king of the light, Osiris, you see. So he has both of those energies within him in order to be able to balance these two and reconcile, you know, this whole thing. Because it's all about reconciling those opposites and the split that occurred between originally Set and Osiris, you see, and then it, you know, unfolded to the Horus and Anubis, you know, Isis and Nephthys, of course, you know, all of these things gave us a split, you see, because Nephthys is only the counterpart of Isis, you see. She's the dark side, where Isis is the light side, you see, and nobody knows about her. Everybody thinks Anubis is Isis's child because that's the surrogate mother, since, you know, the mother and the father were absent, you see. So they all think it is Isis's child, but it's actually Nephthys, you know, the hidden power. And this is what we're about to manifest now. That's us. That's actually, see, Nephthys was actually the water element, you see, which I mentioned earlier is the element of the soul, you see. And the element of the soul is representative of the universal mother, you see. And so it's through the soul or the water element that we tap into the universe, you see. So that's how we empower ourselves from the mother. So this is really about the upliftment of the mother, not over the father, you know, like what happened before, because we did start with the feminine. We did start with the lunar rule. And then it's all about cycles. And then the masculine rule came in with Aries, you see, where it overpowered the mother and pushed her as the hidden power, pushed her into the dark, you see. Well, now the dark is about to come back and be manifest again, you see, but it's not going to overpower the light. It's just going to come in the balance and in harmony. In other words, it's going to make its complete cycle so that we are full and whole, and it shows its fulfillment. I do want to read you something from the Celestial Ship of the North in regards to that, about that dark and that light and the mother, because that's what we're doing. That's what's going to bring about the fulfillment, is to lift the mother back up again. It says here, here it is. It says, the beginning, space. It says, we're talking about the great mother. It says, she has been imaged as intensely black, her bosom bare, crowned with a golden pyramid, about which twined an immense serpent. Night and darkness belong as symbols to this very great antiquity. A super abundance of darkness metaphysically is light. Okay? Darkness adopted illumination in order to make itself visible. See? So the power comes from the dark, you see. The power comes from the hidden, you see. And so that is what is about to be manifest at this time. That is what all veils are now being lifted. And we're about to manifest that hidden power by tapping back into the mother, which is actually the universe, which is where we empower ourselves from, you see. And then this gets into, you know, like I'm always talking about, when you look at these movies and stuff that talks about the prophecy, you know, like the Fifth Element, the Matrix, you know, the Dark Crystal, and all of these, when we talk about the fulfillment, the last stage before fulfillment, you always see the male and the female come together. That's what this is really symbolizing, you see. It's just showing you that on an individual basis. But it's all about the male, which is the sun, you know, the light, you know, and and then it's about the mother, or the feminine, you know, which is the dark or the hidden, you see. Both of them coming together in fulfillment, you see. That's what we see. The prophecy is fulfilled when those two come together. So that's what we, you know, are looking at. That's what's being symbolized, you know, when we look at that. Bringing the mother back in from the hidden strength that she is, so that, you know, it's all brought together in harmony. And only until we come together in that wholeness can we actually reverse our rotation and get in harmony with the universal forces. And that's where we reach our power at. That's where we open up to what it is that will step us up to our rulership for this new age and this new paradigm that's coming in. We are the new rulers for this new age, you see. And that's approaching very rapidly, you see. Right now the gateway is definitely opening. You know, time is dropping, you see. We got probably what, 12 to 14 hours in a day now. And as the time drops, you see that gravitational pull releases us to access our spirit more, and the spirit to access us more, you see, so that we have a knowing, you know, about what it is we need to do in order to unplug from this matrix, you see, come into balance and in harmony, because within us, it's always a duality. It's always a double cycle. Anything you do on a singular basis, you're still doing in the physical. Anything you do on a spiritual, that's a collective, okay? Spirit is a collective of energy, you see. So, you know, so we have to move out of the personal and go into the collective in order to open up all of that energy for our access and our empowerment. So what we have to do is, you know, step up and individually, we have to, within ourselves, come into balance with our masculine side and our feminine side. We have to come into balance, you know, on an individual basis. And then the next level is to come into partnership with someone who has also come into balance with their masculine and their feminine side, you see. And when you connect up, you know, with that other person, what you've created is a double cycle of balance, you see. And then you're operating in a collective, and that's when you're coming into the highest level of that double cycle of balance. And, you know, that's when you start creating power. That's when you create energy, when you do a double cycle of balance, you see. See, I always say that the men are the external warriors, but the internal nurturers. And the women are the external nurturers, but the internal warriors, you see. So we have it in us, you know, to do that, you see. We have it in us to come into balance, and then as we come into balance with what we call our twin souls. And the reason why we call them our twin souls, and this is somebody that you've had many lifetimes, you know, building up your love with many lifetimes, and that's your spiritual mate, and at this time, it's time to culminate that love, you see. And it's just the twin souls, and the reason they call them twin souls is because they have to come together in equal measure, you see, in equal strength, you know, and that's how they come into harmony and in a balance, you see. So these twin souls coming together, you know, individually or overall represents the fulfillment, you see. You see, so that's what we have to do. We have to come into balance within ourselves, and then, you know, hooked up with our twin soul who is also coming into balance, you see. But now we're going to have to make that connection on a spiritual level, you see, and work out whatever it is that needs to be worked out on a spiritual level, so that by the time it manifests physically, you know, it's nothing but to enjoy. It's the fulfillment, you know. It's all about, you know, opening up to that power. So we have to now, you know, work on that, work on coming into balance, connecting up with our spirit. Only our spirit is going to be able to put us on that path, you see. So we have to, you know, wake up to getting at peace with our spirit, because this physical world is going down. It has to. In order for the spirit, since they're opposites, they can't occupy the same space at the same time. One has to give way to the other. And since we're moving into a spiritual time, that means we have to, you know, there's going to be a breakdown or a degradation of the physical world, at least until it comes into balance, you see. So that's what we have. That's the part of what the Matrix is talking about, unplugging, you see. In other words, coming out of the limitations and the restrictions that someone has imposed upon you, you see, through emotional manipulation, you see, and through your own personal, you know, going after your own personal gratification. See, if we stay on a personal level, then we'll continue just to struggle on that level, you see, and we'll stay plugged into the matrix, you see. It's not until we get at peace and in harmony with our spirit, and we know our spirit is going to give us the guidance as this chaotic time unfolds, because it is going to be chaotic. But if you're in harmony with your spirit, you fear nothing, you see. You understand that this energy that is breaking down is only breaking down for a new beginning. That's what transformation is, the death of the old, so there can be a rebirth of the new at a higher level. We want the apocalypse because we want the end of this, because it's not until this is moved out of the way that the new can open up at a higher level, the new that we will be ruling, you see. See, because we're going to be ruling under the laws of the universe, which are guided by the principles of righteousness. And we're only coming in to rule, to reverse things, you know, and take an unrighteous world and bring it into its righteousness, you see. There's no fixing this. There's no patching it up. You know, we got to let it fall down. And the more that we let go of our own personal habits and all our personal desires and attachments to the physical, you see, and open up to the empowerment of our spirit, which comes from within us, you see, then is when we can come to our fullness, reverse our rotation, you know, and then become in harmony with the universal forces and activate the fulfillment. And only we can do that, because we're the only physical beings with the spiritual capability, you know, of bringing that spirit and that physical together. God only means wholeness, you see. And that's when we come to our wholeness, we come to our godhood, you see. And we have a responsibility to do that so that we can heal the earth, you know, and balance the universe. This is a universal thing going on. And right now, in the Aries energy, it's time to step up to that, you know your power, know from the Aquarius energy, you know, that you are, you know, that force or that power, and you do have, you know, access to that power, you know, to step up to your heroic deeds, you know, and conquer your own internal dragons, you see, so that you can come in harmony and balance with your spirit, you see, and then be a participant, you know, in turning things around, healing the earth, you know, and contributing to the fulfillment, you see. And then, after that's occurred, step up to your rulership, you see. You'll be put over rulership. So, quickly, any questions? It's about to end. No questions? Yeah, but that's it, you know.
About the relationship, I was just telling a friend the other day that I feel that you got to find that person who's on the same conscious level you are.
Absolutely.
So when you get together, it'll be even more power.
Absolutely.
Than it is separate. So
yes, and that, you know, that's right, absolutely. And that's why I said twin souls, and that's why they call them twin souls, because they have to come together in equal measure. You know, not one iota this way or one iota that way. We have to come together in equal measures. That's why they call them twin souls.
Do you think the spirit will do that, connect you with your twin soul?
Oh, absolutely, because right now it's a spiritual thing. You see, you have, everything is reversing now, where you have to make a spiritual connection and then let it manifest physically. And right now the universe is demanding fulfillment. So if you're dealing with anything that's not fulfilling for you, it's going to move it out of the way so that you can be in position to receive your twin soul as they make their appearance. But they're going to make it on a spiritual level first. It's going to be in your dreams. Whoever you're dreaming about right now, that's probably your twin soul. Whoever you're dreaming about, you know, you're going to start making connections, you know, telepathically in your dreams. That'll be your first clue. You know, all those kind of things are going to happen on a spiritual level before they will manifest physically. And it's not until you fully extended that spiritual bond that you will be allowed to manifest the physical of that, you see. So when it manifests, it'll be in its perfection. Okay? Thank you, too, for coming out. We're going to keep on pushing, you know, and you know, so next month, you know, we'll be back up here next month. We'll be featured on the Taurus energy. Remember now, all of these energies are within you, okay? So don't just concentrate on your one sun sign. You know, that's just a small fraction of who you are. You want to know all these energies, because once we get sensitive enough to these energies, you see, we can just empower ourselves through our minds, you see. We won't even have to do the rituals anymore, you know, because the rituals are only to acclimate us to the sensitivity, to the energies. And that's what I'm trying to greet the spirits, the ancestor spirits, the elemental spirits, and the universal spirits. We need to welcome them here, bring their participation and their information, and fill these seats, you know, to empower us tonight. Ashe. Okay. Okay. Of course, I'm Sister Myrah. And first thing I want to do is read some information to kind of set the stage for where I'm going with this. Part 3, let's see here, part 2, part 3, here we go. It says, once you adjust your perspective to a universal view, you become a part of the fulfillment of the whole, which is God in uniqueness of you, with the power from within to create all that promotes the universal principles of righteousness. Once we are armed with the tools necessary to tune into your spiritual self or your higher self, who will define those principles for you in a way that is personally you. Trust in the Spirit, for it will take you where you need to go. All we need to do at this point is to find ways to tune in, keep our first eye open, as well as any other gifts of attunement that has been developed in your subconscious world. Everything happens for a reason, and now is the time to get with the spiritual flow. Learn how to stop resisting your powers. You do have them, just as our ancestors did. The more physical we became, the more we lost these wonderful gifts. Don't forget that everything works on the principle of duality from opposite perspectives. As above, so below. Subjective as well as objective. Anything that has a physical existence has a spiritual one also. And we need to be able to see these things in both lights for full meaning. Okay? So remember that. It's always about balancing opposites. That's how you create, by balancing opposites. Now, what I want to get into first off is the lowest manifestation of the Aryan age. And I'm going to read some information from the archetype of the zodiac. This is a very, very valuable book. It's Archetypes of the Zodiac, Kathleen Burt. You see, very insightful information. It connects the zodiac with mystical characters, you see, so you'll understand what that energy is symbolizing, okay? The first one I want to get on to, what I'm going to read about is Hercules. I don't know how many of you know who Hercules actually represents, okay? Now, when we look at the Aryan age, we're talking about the Aries energy, okay? This is when the masculine energy, you know, overpowered the feminine energy, okay? Which is only cycles. Cycles. Everything has to go in cycles, you see. So when we look at the Aries energy, what we're going to identify for you now is the lowest manifestation of that energy versus the highest manifestation of that energy. So when we're looking at Hercules, we're actually looking at the white man, okay? Because he's a man of strength who controlled the gods. Guess who the gods are, okay? So that's where they got the Hercules from, okay? His counterpart is Jason, which is the higher manifestation of Hercules, okay? Which represents us, you know, as black people. So we've got two stories to tell here from two different polarities. And we're dealing with the Aries energy, which is the warrior energy, okay? Okay, so let me read this to you. Page 2 to 5 here, okay. Okay. It says here, the age of Aries brought a dramatic change in symbolism from the lunar or feminine to the solar or masculine. The Aryan age was a period of violent, heroic activity, of feats of daring do. The archetype Aries takes pride at being on earth in the physical form or body. Pride in himself, his creative capacity, his drive to fulfill his desires in the outside world. Let us consider the glyphs for Aries and for Mars. The mundane ruler, Aries, is the ram's horn and the battering ram. Okay? It says the glyphs for Mars is the biological symbol of the male sex. Many people whose Aries energy manifests at the mundane level alone identify with Mars, with the libido and the senses, with the body's drive and instinct. Okay? Now I want to get to I just wanted to set the groundwork on the Aries energy for the age that we moved into when the white man came in control, you see, and is manifesting that energy at the lowest level. Okay? It says, we come now to the myths for Aries. Both are solar, heroic stories about young, naive, independent, supremely confident heroes. In the first story, Hercules learns the importance of tuning in to Hermes or Mercury. And in the second story, Jason learns the need to acknowledge at least the principles of Eros, the child of goddess Aphrodite, if not also the need to sacrifice his restless independence to Eros and settle down with a mate. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that the Hercules story, we're talking about two stories. We're talking about one polarity of that two polarities of that Aries energy. Okay, and we're looking at the Hercules story, which is the lowest manifestation, and he's here to learn the importance of tuning in to Mercury. In other words, the mind. He wants to strategize. He wants to, be supremely independent and confident, as he steps up to his masculine rule as this physical being who is very, very supremely strong enough to control the gods. And that's the story we're going to deal with tonight, okay? The Hercules story. When we're talking about the Jason story, it's all about love, because they're talking about dealing with Eros, okay? So we're talking about the white man representing Hercules and the black man representing Jason, okay? So Jason's lesson is about love, okay? It's about taking a mate and finding the right mate, okay? And when we deal with that story, then we're going to get into the twin soul area. And whenever we're bringing those twin souls together, this represents a fulfillment, you see. So that is the black man's mission, to find his twin soul in order to open up the fulfillment, of trying to bring the transformation or to turn things around for Mother Earth, okay? But right now we're going to deal with the Hercules story. It says, in the Labors of Hercules, Alice Bailey recounts the myth of the Ares quest, the first of Hercules' famous labors. Hercules is told to go through the gate, the twin columns of duality, okay? Catch that, okay? The twin columns of duality that are the symbol of entry into the world of delusion, okay? And it says, and Tetter, the wild mares, Diomedes, the war horses that the king bred. It is interesting that in this myth, the most dangerous were the female horses, or mares, who devastated the land, okay? The mare, yeah, okay? It seems appropriate for an Aries quest to have logos, that's the thinking part, that's the Hermes, the Mercury they're talking about, struggling against the destructive side of the feminine. Just as Perseus fought the dark goddess who was laying waste the land. Yet Hercules did not think or plan. He rushed headlong into the fray with full confidence, then stopped briefly when he saw the odds were against him. There were a great many wild mares snorting and pawing the ground. He thought of his friend whom he greatly loved and called out for help. Together, the two devised a plan to corner and tether the mares, okay? Now, when I'm looking at this feminine energy that is going to devastate the land, guess what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the apocalypse, okay? The horses, the female mares that are going to devastate the land, okay? They need to go through the twin gateways to stop or quell this destructive feminine energy, okay? They don't want the apocalypse. We do.
They don't want the cleansing.
They don't want the cleansing, okay? See, the prophecy, how many of you saw Dark Crystal? Okay? Remember the prophecy? Oh, the prophecy, the Nephilim, they're going to come and they're going to destroy us. They're going to, and they had to go to the glyphs, the hieroglyphs, and find the information of their ancestors who talked about the fulfillment, you see, where we are to restore righteousness to an unrighteous civilization. So their thing is to tell us that, anything that comes up against this civilization is wicked. And we should band together and fight against that, you see, in order to keep the devastation from occurring, But they know we're fighting against our own energy. We're fighting against the prophecy, you see, to take the rulership out of their hands and put it back into our hands. Now, the feminine represents the earth. It represents the material, Ma, okay? That's the reason why we're looking at the most destructive of those energies to be the feminine, because it actually represents the chaos or the feminine destruction of the earth, you see. You know, so, and this is where the Jason story comes back in at, because as the Christ energy comes in, and we combine with the Christ energy, that's like the male energy combining with the female energy in order to make that fulfillment occur, you see. But first, there has to be a devastation of the material or physical side in order to bring the upliftment of the spiritual, you see. So that represents the apocalypse, the destruction of the feminine side, the tear down of the physical existence where they have control and power and are using it, you know, as the Hercules to control the gods and keep control, you know, by continuing to perpetuate the illusion. The physical world is the illusion. It's the spiritual world that is reality. So they don't want this coupling. They don't want this combination, you know, because that's what's going to break through the illusion. So this is what was being symbolized when they went through the twin gates, the twin towers on September the 11th. That's what that was all about. First off, they took out Aaliyah, okay? They took out Aaliyah because she represented the feminine mare that was going to devastate the land, okay? And the reason she represented that was because she was, of course, the feminine energy, but what was her sign? Capricorn. Capricorn. There's a lot of symbolism. Now, if any of you have heard me before, you've heard me say that Saturn is the energy that represents the father energy, right? That's the father, okay? They say it was a satellite. Earth was a satellite of Saturn, but it represents the father energy, okay? Which is, Saturn represents the Capricorn energy. So we're talking about the father, which represents the Capricorn energy, okay? So that's the first symbolism that they were looking at in order to identify Aaliyah as being symbolic of this destructive male energy, okay? Because the Saturn is actually the one that was prophesied to return, you see. He was Set. He was the first son of the great mother. He had a battle with Osiris. He cuts Osiris up into the 14 pieces. And when he did that, he was put into exile, okay? Now, when our ancestors looked up in the sky, they saw Saturn as we see the sun. All the names that are given to the sun first belong to Saturn, okay? Every last one of them all belong to Saturn before they belong to this present sun, okay? When he was put into, this is when he was at a close proximity to the earth. This is when our ancestors were bestowed of their powers, because it was like the father energy directly energizing that, okay? But when he cut Osiris up, and remember, we're talking symbolic now, okay? And when he cuts Osiris into the 14 pieces, he was put into exile, okay? But he was prophesied to return. Saturn means crystallization. This is where the Christ story came from, okay? He was prophesied to return and restore righteousness to an unrighteous civilization, okay? That is what is setting the stage for the apocalypse, you see. That is why they're always putting out movies talking about if anything comes up against this civilization, let's band together and fight against this evil, you know, because they know it's time for this to go in order for a new beginning to occur, for us to take our rulership under that Saturn reign, okay? Now, Saturn, like I said, represents the energy of Capricorn. I'm going to give you some reasons why they tabbed Aaliyah as being symbolic of the most destructive mare. For one thing, like I said, it's the Capricorn. Capricorn represents the cardinal energy. The cardinal energy is royalty. Ruler, yeah. And it's she's directly the daughter of Saturn. Since Saturn represents the Capricorn energy and he's the father energy, they tabbed her the daughter of Saturn, or the daughter of you know, the father or the daughter of God, okay? See, so she's a cardinal energy of royalty. Her birthday was January the 16th, 1989, which adds up numerology to the number 26, which adds up to 8. 8 is always the number that represents the spirit overcoming the physical, which is the apocalypse, okay? Now, another reason they were fearful, they symbolized her because, yeah, the spirit overcoming the physical. I'm going to read you something else about the Capricorn energy, the reason why they looked at her as symbolizing daughter Earth. Don't tell me I didn't bring that book. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Here it is. Okay, it says here, page 45. I'm just trying to set the stage where you can understand why they were looking at her as being symbolic of that energy. It says the word Capricorn is very intriguing. Research this word with a good dictionary and you will discover some wisdom from the ancients. The zodiac sign of Capricorn, where Christ, the Son, was killed, contains in its clues to its hidden meaning. The word is divided into 2 parts. Capri means goat, and corn means derived and associated with horn. One of the definitions of the word goat is scapegoat, okay? And a definition of horn is a symbol of a person of high honor and authority. A king, a prince, of course, a princess. So, here we have, in the esoteric meaning of this sign Capricorn, a king that is made into a scapegoat, a sacrificial lamb that dies so that others may live. Get a good dictionary and check it out for yourself, okay? That's what I'm saying. So she represented the spiritual, she represented the princess, you know, and the reason why, so what they did, they took her out, you see, and then they went through the twin gateway. This is all symbolic. See, white people have been understanding symbolism for a long time, okay? And they've kept us so narrow vision so they could just work their stuff right under our nose, you know, using symbolism, and we would never know what they were trying to accomplish here. So what it is that they took out Aaliyah, and then that's when they took out the twin gateways on September 11th to symbolize the symbolic going through that twin gateway to stop the destructive feminine apocalyptic energy, okay? That's what that was all about, okay? So it says here, her age, she was 22 years old. You add up 22, that's number 4. Number 4 is balance, okay? And that's what the apocalypse is all about. It's about tearing down the old and rebuilding at a new, higher level. Mother Earth is trying to become a sacred planet, okay? Which means she needs to come into balance. And here we get back to the twin souls, balancing, you know, between the male and the female, the physical and the spiritual, okay? So once Mother Earth balances herself, then it contributes to the balance of the universe, you see. So they understood this. So her age, which is number 22, added up to 4, which indicates balance. This is another symbolic meaning behind why they figured she represented the daughter princess of the earth, okay? Then, number 3, a royal funeral, okay? For a royal sacrifice for the sick Queen of England. You know, the Queen Mother of England was very sick at the time, okay? And they needed a royal sacrifice. So they killed 2 birds with 1 stone. That's why they gave her a royal funeral, so she would be a fitting sacrifice for the royal Queen Mother of England, okay? They don't waste anything, okay? So they're serving all these dual purposes. Number 4, perform the ritual as the transit sun was connecting with the Leo and Virgo energy, which represents the apocalyptic signet energy, in an angle with the Capricorn energy for disruption. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that when they took her out just as the sun was moving out of Leo into Virgo. Okay? And anytime you put Leo and Virgo together, you have the Sphinx. And anytime you put this, you have the Sphinx, you're looking at who? Sekhmet. She is the most destructive power there is. She is the one that will be unleashed, you know, to bring about this destruction. Okay? Now, the thing is that if you know astrology, you know, they're at an angle. Astrology works through, energies work through angles. Okay? You combine, it's either between the modes or the elements that you're getting interaction. Okay? Well, the Capricorn energy is at an angle with the Leo energy that causes disruption. Okay? So in other words, they took her out during a time, you know, where the energy was very disruptive to the Capricorn energy. Okay? So they were looking at all this symbolism. So that is, and the time that they took her out represented the time where we're dealing with the Sekhmet energy. Okay? And that is the destructive energy that the Capricorn energy at its angle to that Virgo, Leo energy would cause disruption, you see. So that's what was being symbolized there. Also, her name means the most exalted. Okay? Now, it says her name means most exalted. And what I want you to look at is I'm not able to write it here, but I want you to look at the spelling. Anybody know how to spell Aaliyah? Yes. A-A-L-I-Y-H. Okay. Now, if you look in the Bible under Alleluia, it's almost the same spelling, you see. And what I'm doing is demonstrating the connection these people made as to who most was symbolic of this royal princess earth energy, okay? And who most, so what it is that, and then what it is, it says Capricorn indicating the daughter earth of Saturn, which is the father of daughter earth, and his prophesied return, okay? What they call themselves is doing is jumping the gun. In other words, they took out his daughter, and then they went through the twin gateways to keep illusion intact so that reality would not manifest itself, which is the spirit, okay? So then the next thing they did was decide, okay, now what we're doing is we're antagonizing God. We're antagonizing him. When they took out his daughter, you know, we're shutting down this apocalypse. We want to hang on to the rulership, okay? So now what we got to do, and this is in the Bible here, as they come up, they talk about here, let me find it with my magnifying glass. It says, what I want to show you here is how they're going to, I want to get to the part where they're talking about let me see if I can find it right quick. If I can't, I'll just tell you about it. Yeah, this is it. Here it is. It says, it talks about the kings and how, and it says here, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Okay? It says, behold, let me see. What it is that the great city was divided. What I'm trying to see here, because one part where they're talking about they gather them in Armageddon land, okay? And what they do is, it's a part in there, I can't find it right now, but they're talking about how they gather their troops and their forces to fight against God when he comes, okay? So that's what they were doing. They were antagonizing the situation so that they could gather their troops and try to fight against God when he came, which is Saturn, which is them antagonizing him by taking out his daughter and trying to shut down the apocalypse. That's what they were looking at. See, they're definitely looking at the Bible and trying to set up, you know, what it is that they're trying to put forth as an illusion, you know, for us to buy into. So what it is that they wanted to gather their forces and try to fight against him as he tried to come up against and avenge his daughter's death. So that's why Aaliyah was picked to symbolize that, you see. She was picked to symbolize the one who would be the most appropriate to symbolize that. It has nothing to do with her on an individual basis. It's more about her, you know, her name, which was the most exalted one, her age, which meant balance, you know, her energy, which is Capricorn, the earth daughter, the daughter of Saturn or the daughter of Father, and so they could come up and fight against him as he come and tried to avenge, you know, what it is that they had done. Okay, so that's the reason they used Aaliyah for that. Now, moving on to the Super Bowl. Now, first we want to look at the Super Bowl in Atlanta, okay? Because this is when I first started seeing the rituals that they do at the Super Bowl. Now, if you know anything about the Great Mother energy, the triple black energy, it's the Typhon energy, okay? Or the Titan energy, okay? That's when you're identifying with the Great Mother energy, you're talking about the Titan energy or the Typhon energy. Now, in the Super Bowl in Atlanta, we had the Titans against the Rams, okay? The black quarterback was with the Titans, you know, which represented the Typhon energy.
By the gods of the, Olympus.
Yes, absolutely. Olympus, which is Zeus, which is their god.
Aries.
Yes, Aries, getting back to the Aries, which is their god, okay? So, the ram, anybody know what the rams represented in this Super Bowl? The Illuminati.
Sure did.
The Illuminati up against the Titans or the black energy, okay? This was going into the new millennium. So this was the year, going into the year 2000. In Atlanta, the city of metamorphosis. So they did not want it symbolized that the power was going back into the black hands or to the hands of the black power. So what they did was a huge ritual at halftime where they had a circle of water. They had the Great Mother rising up out of the water, okay? Which represents, right. They had what you call the Mandela. If you look up in the dictionary, it's like the seat of power of the universe. Okay, and you have two deities behind you. They had Toni Braxton up on this Mandela. She had on all white, okay, and the people surrounding her had on all black. Okay, what she was doing was pulling down the energy from the Great Mother, and she was ciphering that energy through, and they were absorbing it through the black clothing. All this is symbolic, you see.
Right, because black always attracts energy.
Right, and the white repels it. So she was ciphering that energy out for them to absorb it, you see. And this was to empower the Rams. They had all kind of Ram truck commercials going on. Now, you know the Super Bowl had the finest commercials, okay? But they keep bringing this old Ram truck commercial on. That was to symbolize who they wanted the energies to empower, okay? Right. So they did their ritual, and they won the game, okay? They won the game. But that's when I first took notice of the ritual. They had all the symbolism, you know, to activate that energy and empower the Rams over the Titans because they did not want it symbolized the power going back into the hands of the Titans or the black energy, okay, with the black quarterback, okay? So, but see, they can't do it without us. That's why they had to have, you know, that's why they had to have Toni Braxton. Because we have the melanin, and the melanin is the same substance of the blackness of the universe, okay? Which is the soul, you see. White folks have spirits, they don't have souls, They don't have the souls. They can't reach out into the universe. They don't have the melanin to give them the fluidity to connect up with the universal forces, you see. So they have to use one of us to cipher that energy down from the universe through our melanin, okay? And so that's why they, like the biggest ritual of all is the Olympics.
The torch.
Yes, the torch, the Olympics, you know, Zeus. They said Zeus would be proud, you see. Who did they use there? Muhammad Ali, you know? So you're gonna notice anytime they're doing their rituals, they got one of us sitting on the top. They never let us on the top any other time. But this time they always got us right on top because they need us.
Because it takes the soul to bring
It takes the soul to bring in that energy. And plus, especially since they were doing an homage to the Great Mother, so they needed a black female to cipher that energy down and throughout, you see, to empower the realms, you see. So that's what that was all about. Now we get to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, 2002, okay. Now, they got the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Lo and behold, there's no such thing as coincidence. So how do we end up in Mardi Gras when the Super Bowl is in New Orleans? Super Bowl has never been that late in the year. Never, right? But all of a sudden, when we're in New Orleans, now all of a sudden, we're going to do this during the Mardi Gras.
Well, was Mardi Gras early too?
I don't know. All I know is that, was it?
It was early.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
No, it wasn't in its usual position. Okay, I hear
A
you.
couple of years ago, before that Super Bowl you were talking about, you used to have to wait 2 weeks before you saw the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, right, I think it's 98 or 99, that's when they changed it to waiting 1 week.
1 week.
Basically playing the next week.
Right. But after what? 9/11? Why? We had to end up having the Super Bowl because what they did, they shut down a week of play.
Right.
And